What are chaplains doing in the American Legion? Thank you for joining me. My name is Kelly, and I am part of the Department of Minnesota. And this is Spotlight on Spirit, where we look at all things spiritual. We're going to look a little bit about who are chaplains in the American Legion, what do they do, how did they get there, and why do chaplains exist in the American Legion. The American Legion was created, of course, we all know that. If you don't, in 1919. And if you've been to any post meeting, you know that we always start out with the preamble. The American Legion has always understood spirituality as a vital component of our veterans. And in October 2020, the National Legion Executive Committee created our American Legion mission statement. And it gives us a little bit of a clue about why we have and continue to have chaplains in the American Legion. Our mission statement is to enhance the well-being of America's veterans, their families, our military, and our communities by our devotion to mutual helpfulness. That word well-being lets us know that the mission of the American Legion is to enhance the physical, relational, emotional, financial, spiritual, environmental, intellectual, vocational, and physical aspects of veterans, their families, our military, and our communities. And we will do this through mutual helpfulness. Your spirituality is part of your well-being. Therefore, it is part of the American Legion. When we think about the aspects of a person, we realize, and we know this to be true, that we are comprised of a physical body. That's our corporal or tangible, we can touch it aspect of who we are. We have a mind or a psyche where our thoughts and our actions work with our physical body and also help us to dream and help us to learn. And then we also have emotions and feelings. And then we also have our spirit. And this is where we make meaning aside from and apart from what we think. It is where identity, purpose, value, what we think about why we are alive, what is our purpose in this world, is there anything after us, is there anything before us, is there anybody out there that is separate from us? If you're thinking about spirit, your identity, purpose, and value, there's an existential quality that is uncontrollable, that we can't see, we can't control it, we can't really research it, although researchers are getting better at defining how to determine what is spiritual versus what is emotional and what is part of the psyche. We're complex individuals. We know that. It's really sometimes difficult to parse out that because what you're thinking about who you are affects your body. You can get an upset tummy if you are so upset, or you can get goosebumps if you're so full of joy. And so we're intertwined as a being, but there are different markers when you're thinking about spirit, emotion, mind, or your physical body. A little bit further, when we're thinking about spirit, a lot of times individuals will develop who they are spiritually based on where they come from. If their family has a specific faith group, their society, geographically, where do they come from? And so belonging to an organized religion is one specific way that you will practice individually and communally with other individuals that believe the same things that you do about our purpose in this world. If there's an existential being that is in control of all things, or are there many gods, if you will, that act in tandem for our well-being? Chaplains are different in that, to a large degree, they might come out of a specific faith group. They could be a priest, they could be a pastor, an ordained deacon, a rabbi, they could be an imam, some other clergy member. Sometimes there's laity that will fulfill the need, fulfill the qualifications to be a chaplain. Or they could be an identified specific spiritual leader, such as in here we have chaplains. They are identified as our spiritual leaders. Chaplains are also different from priests or the pastors in that they no longer represent their specific faith group only, but they are the spiritual leaders for all that are underneath them. And so they do not represent that specific religion or faith group, but all of them. They serve groups of people that are not organized as a mission or a church. And so they don't hold religious services. They will hold spiritual events or spiritual services. This is a no-brainer. Everyone in the American Legion is a veteran of the United States Armed Forces. When the United States military was first forming under George Washington, the chaplain were the second corps to be created, only after the infantry corps. George Washington and many others understood clearly the importance of individuals within their ranks being able to practice their specific faith group, for chaplains to advise their commanders about the free exercise of religion in the context of military service. And that was to ensure that our First Amendment of the United States Constitution stayed alive and well. Chaplains today advise our commanders of religious affairs or anything religious. They also are the moral and ethical advisors for leadership. And so the American Legion always has understood the importance of ensuring that who we are spiritually has a place at the table, and to ensure the well-being of those individuals, all the volunteers, the Legionnaires within the American Legion. The American Legion chaplain is the chaplain within a nonprofit veteran-centric organization. Being a part of the American Legion means that we do not exclude any qualified member based upon their race, their creed, the sex, or religion. And so we are open to all qualified individuals that have served in the military with honor. They're non-sectarian. Again, that means they do not have a specific religion that they practice or pray in, and that they recognize that they are of an interfaith base, that they might have a Jewish Legionnaire, a Catholic Legionnaire, a Lutheran Legionnaire. They might even have a pagan Legionnaire or an atheist, and that they're a spiritual leader for all of those individuals, if those individuals are accepting. A key point to be made with chaplains in general, one of the key differences also between a chaplain or a priest or a pastor, deacon, or father is that the chaplain, if they belong to a specific faith group, when they're acting on behalf of the American Legion, they have that hat on, or they're at an event, There's no proselytizing. There's no evangelizing. And what that means is they're not recruiting for their specific faith. They're not praying in their specific Savior's name only. All Legionnaires, of course, are able to practice their specific faith, but when we come together, we're not proselytizing, we're not evangelizing. We are representing the American Legion and doing so with mutual helpfulness. And so we respect each individual's right to be there. So what do the American Legion chaplains, why did they exist again? Well, they're really have three specific purposes, but many more, but three specific. They remind all Legionnaires, as well as communities and families, of the transcendent. There is a part of who we are in that spiritual piece that we don't control, that we have to respect and understand, even though we don't know it with our minds as much as we would like to, because all human beings, we like to control our environments and we like to control and understand clearly. Well, the transcendent exists beyond us and outside of us. And so the chaplain's job is to remind us of our place to a large degree. Chaplains help people grow in their relationship with God and with one another. And if you're more comfortable putting in their relationship with God's, that's fine. We seek to develop an environment within which Legionnaires are encouraged in their personal and collective moral and spiritual growth. We make room at the table, if you will, for everybody, regardless of a specific faith. In a capital G God, in a little g O-D, plural gods, the American Legion is open to help all grow in their spiritual beliefs. So how does one become an American Legion chaplain? You're either elected, appointed. There's such a thing as moving through the chairs. Chaplains can serve for just 1 year, or they can serve for multiple years. But you're recognized as a spiritual leader, if you will, of somebody that has substance, spiritual maturity about them, that you're a caring person, you have a desire to help others. Do you have a positive attitude towards yourself, towards spiritual matters? Do you represent the American Legion well? Are you willing to serve? Are you able to connect individuals to their purpose, their identity, and their value in what they are living for and with? The duties of the American Legion chaplain are very specific within the American Legion. This is not an inclusive list, but you'll most often see chaplains officiating funerals or celebration of lives or memorial services for Chaplains Day, which is observed on February 3rd, ever since 4 chaplains of different faith groups came together and sacrificed their lives on behalf of others. Most of the times you'll see the chaplain and you'll hear the chaplain preside the invocation and the benediction before and after a meeting. They're also involved in the dedication ceremonies as well as installation ceremonies. The Year of an American Legion Chaplain is quite busy, and you'll see on here there are things to be doing just about every single month. March is the spirituality month in America, and it's also the American Legion's birthday on the 15th. If you're a chaplain in the American Legion, there are many opportunities to connect people to that transcendent and to the spiritual growth, their individual spiritual growth, and to remind us of the things that are beyond our control or that have been devastating, or inform our purpose and help us to continue to commit to each other with a heart of mutual helpfulness, not animosity, if you will. So each month we have something that we would do. Memorial Day. And some of these are consolidated post-reportable. So everything the American Legion does, this is just a little caveat, can be captured on what is called our consolidated post-report. That information is consolidated and reported to our United States Congress every single year by our national commander. So what the chaplains do can be reported on our consolidated post-report. Do they participate in Memorial Day? Do they participate in For Chaplains Sunday? Those are two of the items that are CPR reportable. Finally, if you're new to chaplaincy in the American Legion and you don't know what to do, you don't know how to pray, you don't know how to support, there are a few resources to help you. And again, the previous chaplain or any other chaplains within your sphere, your geographical sphere, that today could include across the country because we have the internet and our phones. We can talk to individuals no matter where they are in the world. The Officer Guided Manual of Ceremonies gives specific how to provide a funeral or memorial service, as well as your place amongst the leadership. There are specific prayers that you can recite if you're uncomfortable creating your own. And so the Chaplain's How-To Manual is quite extensive and very informative to help you, as well as the Chaplain's Prayer Book and the Chaplain's Handbook. The Chaplain's Prayer Book is available through Emblem Sales, so just know that. You can buy a few copies if you want online. And so just know that there are individuals also that can help you. We have a national chaplain, always welcome to go and to reach out to that individual and ask them anything that you will. You also should have a department chaplain, and that person might have been there for many years, or they might be a one-year appointment like ours is. But just know that there is resources out there, and who we are as spiritual beings is foundational, and it's necessary, and it's not stagnant. Who you are as an individual spiritually changes and develops and is enriched over years. The things also, just let me finish with this, the things that comprise what we are spiritually, sorry about this. If you can see, I had a biopsy today on my finger and it's covered. And so the things that are spiritual, different from your psyche and your emotions because they're transcendental or they're the existential practices, compassion. How do we connect with individuals? Caring acts that we do. Courage could be a very spiritual part of what you do. What gives you hope? What angers you? Sometimes it's your psyche that will inform you what angers you, but sometimes what angers you could be very spiritual, because if there's a lack of compassion, if there's a lack of hope, if there's a lack of love that you are experiencing, that can be a source of sadness or a source of anger. It can also be a source of motivational change to become more. The American Legion also has been since its inception and will continue to be a serving organization. That is a spiritual activity in itself. When you are serving another, you are honing the roots, deepening the roots of who you are spiritually. And so just know that the American Legion has chaplains. They serve a vital component within the American Legion. I thank you for your time. I wish each of you well.